strong focus because they remain in a given job for more than 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 hours. And Thomas Alva Edison was a great He was a great inventor because for months he used to lock himself in a lab and he used to really be there and be there and be there until unless actually he's able to get certain kind of real invention. So that is the kind of a commitment he had. The question is, do I have that? Now, how do you know that you are getting a commitment? I think one test that you can have is that you have a focus. Do you get up early in the morning, say 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you are going for urine? And when you are going for urine, what is the thought that comes to the toilet at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.? That is the kind of a passion that you have, that you want to do it. Actually, we don't have that kind of a passion. 3 baje kaun sa soch aata hai toilet mein? 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to do it actually. What kind of a thought comes to mind? So, dream is that doesn't allow you to sleep. Dream is that compel you to get out from your bed and do it actually. That is the kind of a focus. Right. That's the focus. And I generally will find that we have a guna, tamo guna, rajo guna, okay, and we have sattvic guna. So these are all actually gunas. That is, as per the yogic culture. And rajo guna is actually a passion. Okay, tamo guna is a laziness, and sattvic guna is a purity. And the more you are filled up with rajo guna, it is good. But too much of tamo guna is actually laziness. And sattvic guna is actually a guna which helps us to balance both. It's a kind of purity. So don't get lazy. So focus is an after effect of a drive also. Now what is a drive? Drive is something that helps you to do something. What is a drive basically? Now why do you go to office every day? Because you know that if you don't go to office, you will not get payment. So money is a drive for all of us. Okay. Then we have hunger for money, we have hunger for richness, we have hunger for promotion, we have hunger for goodness. So what drives you? Why do we have food? Because if we don't have food, our body will not get created. So we are driven by hunger, we are driven by sleep, we are driven by sensuality, we are driven by pleasure, and anything that we are driven by, we actually go for it. That is the drive that we have actually. So drive is something that motivates you from inside. It's the inner thing. Now who can teach you drive? Nobody can teach you. It's an inner calling. I get that call and I get into the call and I fall into the call and I get involved into the call and immersed into the call and I just let my life go for. And that is actually a drive. So drive is something that is happening from inside. And it's a smaran. It is a smriti. That is a constant remembrance that keeps on happening. It is not, your dad doesn't remind you, the trainer doesn't remind you, the guru doesn't remind you, the teacher doesn't remind you. You are your own guru. And that is a smaran, and that keeps on happening. And that actually drives you to take on and to go on and to be on and to be immersed. This was the doobna, ab doob jate ho kaam pe. And that is a drive, because drive is something that can come from money beyond a point. What do you think that is that the great industrialists, they have so much of balance, they have so much of money, but what drives them to work? They have crores of rupees in the bank, they have billions of dollars, but what drives them to work? And what drives them? It is working for the humanity, working to eradicate poverty, trying to do social work actually. So do I have that calling from inside? So what drives me? What drives me actually? So this is a calling. So you'll find that leaders have gone beyond the skin. They've gone beyond the skin. They've gone beyond food. Mera nahi hai, tera hai. When I live for others, that is a drive actually. So we have higher drive. So CSR can be a drive. Can I do something for animals? Can I do something for dogs? Can I do something for the beggars? Okay, so like that. So we start, that's a virtue that we start developing from small steps, and then we can take certain thing a big ahead. Okay, EQ is again much talked about, emotional intelligence. Now we have, one is IQ, another is EQ. IQ has to do with your mathematical ability, your general intelligence, your problem solving ability. But IQ may help you to get good marks in your examination, but EQ is something that will help you to get a good job or a good position. IQ may help you to solve certain problem, but EQ may help you to develop a relationship. IQ is something that helps you to solve a mathematical tough problem, whereas EQ is something where you'll be able to develop a good interpersonal relationship. So EQ will find that beyond a point, it is being said that IQ doesn't develop. After 20, 21, 22 IQ, of course there are various versions of it, but EQ you can develop till at the age of 80. And it is being found that people, good leaders, they have a very good EQ. EQ has also dimensions. One of the important dimensions of EQ is that self-awareness. How much do I know about myself? Or how much I can cope up with stress? How much of social intelligence do I have? All this has to do with EQ. Good leaders has a good EQ. And EQ as an element, EQ as an element is a very strong element for leadership development. Because actually we find that, in our academics, we learn a lot of theories, a lot of concepts, and we get good marks. But I think in life, teaches us how to manage and how to cope up. And I think good leaders are those leaders who are coming from the University of Hard Knocks. The more you're knocked, the more you learn something from within. So it's a University of Hard Knocks. And more you have seen problems and pains, the more you develop EQ. I keep telling that जिनको जिंदगी ने नहीं छुआ वो इंसान जिंदगी को कैसे छुएंगे? Okay, it means that if you are not touched by life, how can you touch lives? So that is an important element of EQ. We are developing EQ. EQ is not in the brain; it is in your entire body. Now, where does emotion lies? In your entire body, where does emotion lies? Intelligence may come from brain, but emotion is a junction point between the body and the mind. Sometimes you feel you're angry, there's a lump inside your throat. Okay, that is an emotion. It is not going away. You have a back pain, you have a neck pain, those are all emotions. You have a butterflies inside your stomach, that is actually an emotion. Now how do you deal with them actually? So you have a frequent migraine, that is an emotion. Okay, you are not having a good sleep, that is an emotion. An emotion can destroy you. An emotion can nourish you. Emotion can flourish you. So how do you deal with that? So too much of importance on intelligence beyond a point may not help. But once we are able to understand our emotions, which is at the junction point between the mind and body, we're able to really handle a lot of things in our life. EQ. So what are the steps to develop EQ? Pause, slow down, reflect, process a lot of experiences, because human beings not only digest food, we also digest experiences only. We don't only digest vegetables or rice or porridge or anything. Okay, we are digesting experiences, and if we don't digest those experiences, we don't develop our proper EQ. And since we are dealing with people, because one of the important elements that leaders in the helm of affairs deals with is they have lots of they have to take a lot of pain. They have to take a lot of pain, and once you have developed a lot of EQ, your pain simply dissolves. So that is the way actually EQ helps us in taking things and making things in a better place. Building trust and enabling others, I think, is a hallmark of a good leader. Now, how do you build trust? How do you build trust? So generally, we talk about two types of delegation. Delegation and trust generally goes. Now, once you give a job to your supervisors or to your people, sometimes it is being told that don't go for micromanagement. It's a job with responsibility. It's a job with accountability. That I have given you the job, I know that you are going to do it, and I trust you. So give him all the resources. Develop certain kind of an urgency, and yes, it will be developed. And appreciation, how much we appreciate people, how much we are able to hold people accountable, and that is how things are able to get aligned in a proper place. Enabling others, generally what happens at certain time, we tell people to do, but we don't enable them. We enable means we don't facilitate them. I think other than hard skills, we need a lot of soft skills. Because I think one of the enablement point is once we are born, okay, we get a lot of teachings from our parents and from our junior teachers generally when we were young. Life develops based on the kind of script they have given it to us. So as a leader, as a manager, what kind of a script are you giving to your people? So generally we say that you can do it. It is possible by you, and if it is not there, and I'll be able to help you, and I can take it forward. So that is an element of enabling others, and so keep finding people what is good in them, keep appreciating, and that is how the trust and enablement goes together. I think this is a hallmark of every good leader. Next we talk about conceptual thinking. What is that conceptual thinking? I think I mentioned this point a couple of times. Conceptual thinking. Our life gives us strings of knowledge and information. The question is how many information and how much of those actions we are able to convert that into concepts. Concepts are mental constructs. Always remember, concepts are mental constructs. They are certain kind of map that we are creating in our brain. Over a period of time, these maps become a values and they become a belief, and your behavior is based on those maps. So if you develop a wrong map, then you'll have a wrong behavior. Your disposition is because of your internal map that you have developed. So how can we conceptualize some of the learnings in formal life? And those become like a hardware in your brain. Now all the games and all the exercises that you are doing for the morning, they're actually based on certain kind of immersive exercises. And from there we are drawing lots of concepts. And once you develop those concepts, they become our soft map in our. If you open the brain, if you dissect the brain, you will not find a map, but they become a soft map. And from those maps, they become a value, and they eventually become our behavior. So our behaviors are driven by values, and our values are driven by our belief systems. So conceptual thinking is basically, am I reflecting and am I able to create a mental map? And yeah, this is something. And everybody has their own concept actually. There are infinite number of concepts in our world. I'm sure these 2 days we are able to develop a lot of conceptual thinking. So what is that, is a take away point that I get from this exercise, or from my experience, or from my bad experience, or from my good experience, or from my trauma. Otherwise what will happen? You may have experience, but you have not conceptualized. Some people say that I have 40 years of experience, but they have not conceptualized anything. So you need to really get those things, and that those things only happens if you are able to reflect and cogitate on them. System thinking is something where you are able to get the entire picture. Tomorrow we'll be doing a trek where this particular point will be coming up. So keep this in mind, at the back of your mind. Because system thinking is something like that. We have 5 fingers. Okay. Now, if you cut all those fingers and say that no, this is a palm, no, it is not like that. System thinking is basically trying to understand from an angle where you are taking every parts into consideration. The whole, WHOL, whole, is greater than the sum of the parts. The whole is more than the sum of the parts. Now, if I tell you that I take a flower and I dissect it, so this is a petal, this is a sepal, this is a stalk, and this is an anther, this is a stigma, and I say that, this is a flower. No, that is not a flower. Flower is a flower because of all things put together. And there's a beauty, and there's a color, there is a good smell, and then there is a nature. All together is a flower, but if I cut and dissect, they are not flowers actually. So organization is not about HR and finance and production and marketing. No, they're all together. Now generally what happens, problem happens when we see things in silos, when you see in terms of distinctions. So everything is interconnected. I think one of the important branch of biology is ecology. Ecology talks about our interdependence with human beings and the nature. We are all part of nature. Nature is not separate from us. We think that we are separate, okay? But we are not separated. So in an organization, we think that this is HR and this is finance and this is production and this is advertising and this is marketing, but all in tandem works. So it is systems thinking. And if everybody works quite well, then the entire organization works quite well. It is not that I have performed well. It is, we take the credit. Just because you have performed well, that is the reason I have performed well. Now nobody is independent. We are all interdependent. Now if I say that, no, I don't care about it. Even if you are today sitting on this chair, it is because of some carpenter has made this chair. If you are wearing clothes because some tailor, even if you have bought it, some tailor has made these clothes. If you have a good food because some chef has cooked those food. So the world is on dependency. Now can I understand the dependency in my life? Ego is opposite of that actually. Ego, full form of ego is edge God out from life. So let go and let God. Let go and let God. So system thinking is able to see the whole connection, and leaders are able to see the entire connection, and they value the connection, and they reinforce the connection, and they nourish those connections. Out of that, the entire leadership theory actually develops. So focus drive, EQ, enablement, conceptual thinking, system thinkings together. So you see exactly what you can do to develop in some of the category that will help us to really take ourselves in the next level. Generally, I've seen with my experience in training and with a lot of consulting that generally people lack in the last two, conceptual thinking and the system thinking. because this is something which is being not taught, because we don't develop concepts. Now tell me, we tend to memorize, we tend to go into rote learning, but how many of you have developed a concept on your own? And everybody has n number of experiences to develop a concept. So writers, authors, they come up with a concept. Okay, not necessarily that you have to be an inventor or a discoverer, but in your own way we can develop a concept. And that concept can become a policy. So experience gives us concept, concept become a policy, and policy gets into a practice. That is how organization actually develops. So this is the line actually. So we have innovators, we have inventors. That because they reflect on something. And any good invention has come because of your thinking. So it's being said that everything is being created twice. First in the mind and then in the reality. When I say first in the mind, that means you have conceived something based on your pain that you have gone through. And that is how it gets developed. System thinking is able to connect the part into the whole and to the whole into the part. And it's a thought process. So what actually you have covered is basically a kind of a thought leadership. And so you will know exactly where you stand in terms of certain kind of a scoring, and you can take your own steps ahead to go for the development. Any questions here?